Boom! Hello, everybody. Welcome to American Horror Story Freak Show, episode 12. This episode is entitled Showstoppers, and this was not a super good episode, but different for American Horror Story style. Uh, so, what happens? According to the TV, Maggie tries to prove her loyalty to Jimmy. Meanwhile, the twins receive troubling information about Chester, which kind of happened. Sorry about the light. Get my fat head in front of it. So yeah, this episode starts off with all the freaks are in the big tent at their long table. It appears to be New Year's to me, at least. They're celebrating, doing the little things. There's a big. They're having like a feast. Also toasts to Chester, and they're having a feast with their new owner, and then she excuses him to have a last moment with her monsters, the original family. And what happens next is they talk about the manager, and apparently everybody's in on the murder of him, or not murder, but torture. But it appears to be murder at first. They put him on this wheel. They throw a couple knives at him. She hits him in the leg. Says run. They chase him. They surround him. It's a really awesome scene because it's raining and it's dark, so they're all chasing him around. And or before that, actually, they have a box for him, a present, and it's the lady who owned the museum's head in a jar like he did to Ma Petite. What was the other pinhead's name? I forgot his name. And to Jimmy's hands as well. So they show a scene where Desiree and Maggie go to the museum and they're talking to ladies, stab her in the back, chop her head off, put in a jar, give it to him as a gift, and then they all chase him in the scene and it's raining and it's dark and they go under the car to get him and they all surround him, and then that's all you know about him for the whole episode till the end. And then it cuts to then Elsa and Maggie are in Jimmy's room, kind of, where they have him hidden, and he's in the bed with his hands wrapped, and he's still pissed at Maggie, and he calls her uh, misleading slut or something like that, and he's basically like doesn't give a shit about Maggie anymore. And she says that she loves him and that was true and they could still go off to New York, and he's just kind of like, after all this, you think we could just ride off into the sunset? Like, he really just, mm-mm, you know? And what else happens? Chester and the twins are doing it again. They're tops and he's the bottom apparently, and they're kind of just looking over at the Marguerite ventriloquist dummy, and they're kind of like, cause she's looking over at him as well, so they're like this, and they're like, both of them are kind of like, what the fuck, and they convince him to like, can you put her away just for this once, and then he like pushes her on the floor, and he says okay. And then they proceed and they do the old faces, both of them, all three of them do the old face. You know the old face. And then they show Marguerite and Chester talking about, and she's talking about how you threw me on the floor like a sock, a dirty sock. And she says she loves him and he's finally happy now and blah blah blah. And she wants to leave, but he can't leave without her. And then what else happens? They bring in the doctor who saved Elsa, made her legs, um, in a previous episode, and he talks about they go have a little back and forth, her and Elsa with Jimmy talking about how um, Elsa loved him and she would have married him, but she told her like the only sin was that she loved him too much or something like that. it was kind of weird. They go back and forth, and he talks about how it goes to a flashback and it shows him killing off the people who made this smut film where they cut off Elsa's legs. With the doctor was one of them with the nylon, the old pantyhose over your face, and it shows him killing one dude in the toilet and then killed another dude or something like that. And then it shows him going to get the last guy who was also a doctor, but he pulls a fast one and shoots him, boom, in the stomach. And then he tortured him. He put jumper cables onto his testicles. And he talks about how he escaped and has no soul and or no humanity and how he can't love. And then he kind of disappears, and they talk to Jeremy about making him some new hands, and he talks about how he sees dudes with grenades that got their hands blown off in the war. He doesn't want the fish hooks, the hooks for hands, because you can't jack off like that. Yeah, he went there. You know what I'm talking about, fellas. Hit. Yeah. Um, sorry. Uh, TV, mature, MLVA. No, yeah, MLV. And what else happened? So they compared, or Dandy gave the twins a file on Chester about how he murdered his wife. Margarita actually calls him a murderer, and Chester finally has a flashback of himself murdering his wife and her estranged lover, because Margarita tells him how I'm just a doll. So it's kind of like, okay, so he knows she's just a doll, but he sees her as a real person. And what popped into my head after in the commercial break was like, oh, Chester's like Dandy, kind of almost exactly the same, but different. So this how I came into that. Okay, so they're in the tent because Chester took over, and they're in the tent talking about he's going through the run through of the show and how he's gonna have the twins be his assistant, and they say no, we don't want to, we'd just rather not. And he gets kind of like, what do you mean, like, and Dandy did the same thing. They both don't do good with the word no. And then Maggie makes the mistake of saying, I'll do it. All I gotta do is stand here, look pretty, and show a little leg, right? It's like, okay. He wanted to cut the twins in half. Two bodies for two heads was what he wanted to do, and they got up and left and said no. Um, they would rather not, and he puts Maggie in the because Marguerite told him he's got to get rid of the twins, and he was gonna cut him in half. And guess what? He cut Maggie in half as well. He put her in the box where they do it with the contortionist, so she can like stick her feet up into the top half, and then they do the thing and they cut it in half, and they pull the box and then put it back together, and oh, but he handcuffed her feet so she couldn't pull them through to up to like you're supposed to. And he cut her in half, and he also um, murdered Marguerite as well, stabbing her like he did to his wife because she wanted to leave, and she could because she don't need him. Because they messed up, and Marguerite kind of told him, or he was seeing Marguerite when he was cutting Maggie in half. And he ends up taking her body to, like, wrapped in a blanket. He's covered in blood right here and on his hands and a little bit on his face. And he's like, I would like to report a murder to the police. And he's like, for a young woman. And he puts the thing and they flip it open. And he's like, I did it. Crying like fucking Neil Patrick Harris, dude. He's one of the best actors out there. Um, and then it fades to black and goes to commercial, so you don't know what they do with him. Um, and then the twins are in the room with Elsa, and they tell her you need to leave. They see her without her legs for the first time, and she gets kind of mad at him for that. And she talks about how the freaks, the monsters, are planning to murder her because Richard said that she killed Elsa, and they figured it out. Also, they did a little tribute. They were gonna watch the movie Freaks, which I thought was a cool little shout out. Which is a good movie if you can't see it. If you haven't seen it, uh, check it out. You could probably buy it for like $5. Um, Also, in the beginning, when the clown in the beginning of the first season, the clown walks up on the freaks when they're murdering the cop, and my first thought in my head was gobble gobble, we accept you, one of us, and because the clown also was a murdering rampage, and Elsa is crying, and they tell her anywhere but here, and they save her life. She goes, she actually ends up selling the freak show to Dandy, even though she already sold it to Chester. But hey, when you deal with cash, you don't really need to mark that down. You know what I mean? Checks are different. Wink, wink. Um, so yeah, and then she sold it to Dandy for $10,000 cash. Uh, that's how she gets to Hollywood. Um, Dandy shows up and kind of just explains how he bought the freak show from Elsa and wants to see what he owns now. And he's walking through the tent, and it goes to he takes a bow on stage and does a little kiss bow, and you hear some noises in the background that kind of sound like a baby, but it's really muffled, like and then they made a new meep out of Richard, aka Stanley, aka the Gay Gone Man. They cut his arm and he's all stitched up, and he's in the blue suit that Meep wore, and now he's a new Meep. Meep. Meep used to bite the heads off of chickens. In the beginning of the season, cops murdered him. Um, and then it cuts to Jimmy, and he's with the doctor he's making his hands, and he opens them up, and they're facing down, so you can't see them. And he says they're perfect. The doctor helps him put them on, and he shows them up, and boom, he's Lobster Man again. So he says thank you, and that's how it ends. I'm really sorry that I could never get one of these down to under 10 minutes, but it's an hour show. I get, trying to recap all of it. It's fun. There's only one episode left, and it's called Curtain Call. I'm excited. I'm stoked. Um, it's gonna be a good one. Uh, the Freaks Rebel is what the description told me. For next week, the Freaks Rebel, and Danny makes his debut. The performance is gonna be intense. It's gonna be insane. It's the finale. Come subscribe. Come back for that. That will be next week at this exact same time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Peace.